I want to focus in on gun violence here because that's obviously a major concern. Alexis, you mentioned that, but I want to see if you guys have any specific ideas and proposals to get guns out of the hands of criminals and specifically out of the hands of young people. Tanya?
Yes, we see the most amount of crime from a very small group of people, and it's unfortunate how we're seeing younger and younger people get involved. They have dangerous guns that could shoot 100 rounds in a minute. So we need to make sure we have opportunities for our young people to go to ignite their passions, like entrepreneurship opportunities, late-night basketball. This is what our young people want. Young people coming out of the pandemic need more resources than ever, and I think getting to the root cause of trying to get our young people into issues where they could make or build something and contribute to the community rather than going into unstructured gangs or feeling like they have to feel powerful with a gun. How do we make them feel powerful with a pen?
Alexis?
I've been personally impacted by gang violence, given that that's, my birth parents actually were involved in a gang when they were very young. So this issue is really near and dear to me and important, and I've been careful and paying attention to what our youth are saying. And it's important to note that there was an opportunity to have $20 million going towards mental health supports, going into our schools. That funding was cut in half, and that should be noted. But paired with that, I'm hearing a lot of talk about increasing resources, and yet we're seeing a cut to resources. I support improving and increasing funding for programs such as Community Passageways, which is currently connecting with students across our high schools across the city. But those organizations need resources.
Great. So Seattle, like many cities in the U.S., has struggled to hire police officers and meet its goal of refilling SPD's ranks. Will you continue to work on police hiring, and what can you do differently to move the needle on the issue? Alexis, why don't you go first?
I think there's a lot we can do to learn from other industry partners when we're talking about addressing the needs of our workforce. And given that I was most recently working at the UW, I think the UW is a good example of this. The UW, when working with industry partners such as Microsoft, will work with the legislature to create more enrollment spaces when they want to hire more software engineers. So how are we also building on a more upstream approach, looking at how are we growing our own pool locally and investing in that way? We know we have a national hiring shortage. This is not unique to Seattle. So how are we investing and making sure we invest in the front end, because we want to grow our own pool locally, and homegrown workers tend to stay. So I support those kind of investments, so we can also make sure that we're hiring officers that have the kind of training and cultural competency and de-escalation so they can appropriately serve our communities.
Thank you. Tanya?
So I think this is one of the biggest differences between myself and my opponent, is that I support the mayor's plan to hire and fully staff our police department. I also voted for initiatives that include competitive wages. We were, I think, top 20 in the state when it comes to competitive wages, and now we're top 5. I know it's not just about money, but it's also a morale issue. I mean, we did not defund police, you also demoralized police, and 600 officers left the force. We're still 400 short. And so how do we make sure that there are tools and incentives to help police, hiring bonuses, as well as 30 by 30, how do we hire more female officers, more officers that look like us in the community? And so I think things like that are important, as well as different initiatives like I support the drug ordinance, soda, soap, giving officers the tools they need to be successful and listening to what their needs are, and especially and not only just policing, but firefighters are experiencing a shortage as well.
Thank you.